Welcome to the Witchy Work Wishes podcast, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. Welcome to Witchy Work Wishes, and welcome back to the last part in this three-part series on tracing our ancestral roots with genealogy. So we are gearing up for Samhain, and we have been gearing up for performing a dumb supper ritual, which I really do think the previous two episodes have perfectly set us up for. But first, quickly, maybe not so quickly, I have a pretty detailed story, but some things I've been doing in my own practice and here at Witchy Work Wishes. Now, with the Patreon account, you know that this month of October is my first month in this type of social media connection with you, and I found my gait, I found my cadence, and I found my rhythm. Well, for now I did. But, it took getting in, like actually posting content and, just getting a feel for it before I found the direction I will probably be going through the end of this year at least. And I changed the memberships around just a little bit. One, I didn't like the original idea of content only going to paid memberships, so I did tweak it a tad. Here's the breakdown in case you have not yet joined. So free memberships. Here at this level, you will get the monthly card draw and direction that I am taking for the month, on my end. This will happen the first week of each month. The first tier, the Alchemist Apprentice, here, of course, you're going to get the card draw, but you're also going to get the worksheet that goes with it, the journal prompts for it. After letting the Oracle card draw kind of marinate with me for a week, I will then be posting this data, this worksheet, around the second week of the month. Here at this level, you also get early access to the weekly podcast. On tier 2, the Mystic Maven, of course, you get the card draw, you get the worksheet journal prompts and the early access, but you're also going to get the monthly spell broken down into workable steps. This spell ties directly into our jobs, our work, and our corporate world, and will be posted somewhere in the second or third week of each month. Now, tier 3, this is our big one. This is the Enchanted Entrepreneur. You honestly have everything at this level. So all benefits mentioned thus far, along with a monthly video that I'll be posting around the third or fourth week of each month. This is the only level that will have the video access. Now, I have made some of the October content available to everyone just so you can get a taste of the vibe, the message and the energy that I am working on with you. But moving forward, this is the general layout that I'll be doing. I'll be posting something weekly in the Patreon account, all of which supports the first item tackled each month, which is the card draw. So I'm really, really loving this. It truly is an extension of my own personal practice that I get to share with you, and it seems like a theme with me now. Insane. If I need it, maybe you do too. So that is what's happening over on the Witchy Work Wishes Patreon account. Again, if you have not joined me there, I really do hope to see you soon. Okay, I toyed on this one. Do I share everything? Do I not share everything? But I'm going to go ahead and do it. Signs, I mentioned them in, the intro last week, and that I got one when editing last week's episode, right? But it happened again. This time, not so subtle, not so gentle, more like a slap in the face type message. In last week's episode, the second part to this three-part series, I talked about mtDNA. And it was the first time I had really heard of it, that I had researched it, for the podcast, of course, but, it was all just so I could mention it with the ancestry work Mom and I were talking about. But it was front and center with me last week. Now, in my downtime, I was contemplating starting the Outlander series again to get ready, for the final season launching next month, but I was drawn somewhere else. I clicked on Netflix last week, and the series A Discovery of Witches came up as a suggestion. I am on Netflix often. So why has this not popped up previously? I don't know. It came out in 2018, and it is based on the All Souls trilogy by Deborah Harkness. I believe her first book in the series is called A Discovery of Witches, too. So the short version is the core of the 3 seasons is about a main character called Diana, who is a descendant from the first witch executed in the Salem witch trials, Bridget Bishop. So I clicked on the series and watched the first episode. Love it. I am in. Second episode comes up, and guess what they are talking about? mtDNA. What is mtDNA? Mitochondrial DNA. mtDNA. It is the DNA located in mitochondria, which are the energy-producing little structures within cells. Unlike the nuclear DNA that is inherited from both parents, mtDNA is inherited only from the mother. This is because mitochondria in sperm are usually destroyed during fertilization. So only the mother's mitochondria are passed on to the offspring. So mtDNA is much smaller than nuclear DNA and contains genes that are essential for the normal functioning of mitochondria, particularly for energy production. So mutations in mtDNA can lead to various genetic disorders, especially those affecting like energy intensive organs such as muscles or our nervous system. So because mtDNA is inherited maternally and changes slowly over generations, it is also used in studies of ancestry and human evolution, really helping to trace maternal lineage, which is why we talked about it in last week with our ancestry and genealogy work. So I need to add a little layer to the story that at this moment is going to seem out of place, but you'll see how it ties in just a bit. 2 weeks ago, I picked up a new book. It's more of a spiritual book about working with the elements. So same week, I started this series, this TV series. So keep that in the back of your mind as I continue. So, okay, interesting, right? I talked about mtDNA with you guys last week, and then I am drawn to a TV series about the genealogy of a witch. It's a little coincidental, maybe. Certainly the fact that that mtDNA comes up now the second time for me in a very, very short period, nothing super alarming. But back to this, series, I'm loving the episodes, but I want to go back to one specific night that this download or whatever it was, it was something that happened after I got home from work. I happened to not be super hungry, so after taking my shower, getting in my jammies, I grabbed a handful of saltine crackers and a Sprite and curled up in my chair to relax and watch some more of this A Discovery of Witches series. Before starting, I lit 3 candles. One was a fall pumpkin type candle from the Yankee Candle Company, which was right in front of me. I have to look over this candle to see the TV. Oh, would you like a quick little fun fact side note? The Yankee Candle Company was started back in 1969, the year I was born, in Massachusetts by a guy named Michael Kittredge, who happened to be a teenager at the time. He made his very first candle for his mom out of melted crayons and some special scents to give to her as a Christmas present, and it took off from there. So, fun fact, right? And most of us know these Yankee candles. Their scents are amazing, and they last a pretty good amount of time. They in my opinion, they're sturdy candles, right? They have weight to them. All right, back to my night. It is actually a Monday night, and I'll be honest, I binged on the series the previous week and over the weekend, finishing season 1 and now well into season 2. So I'm curled up in my chair, I'm watching the series and snacking on some saltine crackers. I am a little rattled with this series and maybe better yet intrigued, right? That the series never came up, but it did once I started talking about the mtDNA. There is a scene, I think it is season 2, episode 7. Don't completely quote me on that one, but I think that's the one. I think that's the episode where Diana Bishop begins to weave spells by drawing on the elements earth, air, fire, and water. And during this episode, she connects deeply with her power in the magical tree known as the Rowan tree, which symbolizes, kind of her growing connection to ancient magic. As she is learning the powers of her own magic and working with the elements, the witches who are helping, hone in on her gifts, circle around her and whisper the 9-knot spell. She only gets to 3 knots in this specific scene, but the entire spell goes, by knot of 1, the spell's begun. By knot of 2, it will come true. By knot of 3, so mote it be. By knot of 4, this power I store. By knot of 5, the spell's alive. By knot of 6, this spell I fix. By knot of 7, events I'll leaven. By knot of 8, it will be fate. By knot of 9, what's done is mine. Now, of course, you can go to 10 and start all over again, but this is one of our core spells. This incantation of ours is powerful. It's 3 sections of 3 knots, getting us to the power of 9. And we can use it when performing knot magic to bind or release energy, intentions, or our desires. So each knot tied represents a step in the manifestation of our spell. Okay, back to my living room and the show. It's a Monday night. My living room is dark with only the 3 candles going. I have 1 candle on the side table next to me on my left, the Yankee candle in the middle across from the TV, and then 1 candle on my side table to my right. I am looking at the screen and my Yankee candle goes out. There is no wind, there is no breeze, the air in my living room is still. But yet that 1 single candle goes out and smoke rises. That alone was enough to make me pause everything. And I did. I stopped everything. What just happened? I knew something was stirring that wanted my full attention. And well, they got it. I acknowledged and took account. I actually physically got up and walked around my house. Not sure exactly why, but I did. I came back to my chair and I pressed play again, and the show resumed. And this scene came on where she does her knot magic with the elements and the witches circled around her. You guys, those first whispers, that first line of by knot of 1, the spell's begun, I got chills. And not just chills on my arm or on one little spot. I got chills over my whole entire body, head to toe chills. As the second was whispered, by knot of 2 it will come true, the chills intensified. And by the 3rd line, when the tree showed itself, the goosebumps actually hurt my body. The rush that came over me was so intense, it actually physically hurt. Moments later, I was throwing up. Now remember, I was snacking on saltine crackers. This is what we hand out to our kids when they're sick, when they have an upset tummy. But now I'm throwing them up like, what is happening? What is this download of information I'm getting? How do I process this? So throwing up after a spiritual download or in some type of intense spiritual experience could have various meanings, depending on your own personal perspective and beliefs, but I am now looking for any type of answer to what just happened. So there's 5 potential areas I think we can focus on if you guys have had this before or if it comes up for you in the future. If you actually do find yourself physically vomiting after something has happened, it can be an energetic release. Vomiting can be seen like as a physical manifestation of releasing old, maybe stagnant or negative energy that no longer serves us. So our body might purge toxins or unwanted energies as part of a spiritual cleansing or like an upgrade. It could be because we are overwhelmed. A spiritual download might involve receiving a large amount of information, of insight or energy maybe, which can overwhelm our physical bodies. And our bodies may react with, purging or, vomiting because they are struggling to process or integrate the intensity of the experience. It could also be because blockage is being removed. Vomiting could symbolize the removal of an energetic block that's been hindering our growth or our spiritual evolution. So this purge kind of mimics or allows, for more openness and flow of new energy. It could also be some type of detoxification, this is probably more on a physical level, but spiritual work can offer trigger emotional or energetic detoxification, which can manifest through physical symptoms like nausea or vomiting. All right, and then also it could just be a sign of transition. Some spiritual traditions see vomiting as a sign of transition or some type of transformation. So it could indicate that we are moving into a new phase of spiritual development, shedding old patterns or beliefs. So again, I had to look this up, and if I need to know it, maybe you do too. So that's why I'm listing out all potentially, some options we can think of if this has happened to you or it happens in the future. But I'm not sure why it happened to me. I'm honestly still trying to process. How does all of this tie together? What does it mean? Am I supposed to be watching this specific series because something that is coming up? Because of an area I'm about to jump into? Does the book I bought, back to that, 4 elements, working with the elements on a very spiritual level, does that book have anything to do with this? It is all about the elements. It's not necessarily a witchy book, but it's very spiritual. Does the mtDNA play into what's happening to this download that I'm getting? Okay, so the last part of that specific scene ties into something I think too. So in the scene after the tree shows itself to everyone and Diana's focus is broken, she turns to the crone witch and says something like, I want more. I want to keep going. And the crone witch says back to her, patience, Diana. Well, remember Mom talking last week about a relative she's having trouble finding? Her name is Patience. So that scene stuck out to me. Those 2 words, patience, Diana. I literally texted my mom right afterwards, or close to afterwards, saying, look for a girl named Diana and see if her nickname was Patience. So maybe that is tying into the mtDNA, into what research and genealogy work my mom is doing. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm supposed to be working with the elements more. Maybe after pretty 2 intense years of documenting things with this podcast, I am about to take a leap into the next phase of my own spiritual practice and become a stronger witch with my own spells and my own workings. Maybe. I've come to understand signs a little better recently, and while I would love an immediate answer or some reason for the sign, it may come later. Sometimes, more than likely most times, for me, the message is not instant. But it will in fact reveal itself when the time is right, when it's time to act on the download. For now, it's marinating. So I know I'm not alone. You guys remember Justin Wright, the Pagan Padre. He's been on this podcast before. He's gotten a bunch of signs recently, like big signs. I mentioned Annika and the dragonfly. I mentioned, me and the cat. My boys are getting signs, like we all do, especially right now with our veil being so thin. I think these spirits are sending messages, just waiting to see who will say, yes, I want to talk. Oh my goodness. I want to say real quick, I am so happy to be on this journey with you, though. I really appreciate you, and I love that you're turning into this episode of Witchy Work Wishes. If you are enjoying the show and you are finding value in it, I would love for you to take a moment and share it with your friends and your fellow witchy business colleagues. Your support really does help this podcast grow and reach more magical minds just like yours. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more episodes, and if you'd like to support me even further, please check out my Patreon for exclusive content. Okay, we are just weeks away from October 31st, from Samhain and Halloween. And I am using the last 2 weeks in our month of October to help support our practices in this thin veil time. Today, it's all about our October Dumb Supper. And this is the 3rd of the 3 episodes that I'm running on tracing your ancestral roots with genealogy. I believe it is the perfect way to wrap up the series and call to the very ancestors that we have been working so hard to uncover. Now, next week I do have an episode called Samhain for 2024, which is going to air on the 30th, the night before we get to experience all of this magical day and night's energy. All right, for today though, let's dive into the world of communicating with our ancestors through a dumb supper. All right, listeners, I am back, and I have my mom here with us again. Yay, Mom!
Yay! Hello, everybody.
Thank you for coming back. This is our third part. We've put some time into this one.
Absolutely, we have done that. This has been a learning experience for me.
It's different, right? The last time we've done this together, we did some cocktails and some mocktails, which was super fun with you, but this has been a different journey.
A little different journey. I don't think I've ever heard myself on a recording before. That's been an interesting...
It's challenging, isn't it?
It's very challenging. I didn't realize that there were certain words that I use over and over again. My apologies to your listeners if you noticed that.
What was your word? What did you...
Absolutely. And I've got a giant note in front of me. Do not say absolutely.
Okay, it is challenging to listen to yourself again. And I found on the last two episodes with you, I kept saying, right. And what was the other one I said a lot? Oh, we both said, it is what it is. Life happens, it is. And I was like, oh, man.
It's a very true statement, and it bears repeating, however.
Oh, my gosh. It is a challenge to listen to yourself. So, well, I appreciate you coming back. I know today is not your specialty. We are actually going to take all this amazing information that you gave us and talk about a dumb supper.
Correct.
And hosting that, which we are doing.
Yes, we are.
On Samhain. So, but I did want to kind of get the listeners up to date with the last two episodes and do a bit of a recap if we could, and then also fill in any gaps. I've done it myself after I've recorded a whole podcast. I'm like, oh shoot,
I should have said something about
forgot. This. Or exactly. So is it okay just to take a quick second before we jump into the dumb supper? Okay. We started off with the best advice of baby steps from you. And you said start with your birth certificate.
Correct.
Okay. We talked about some genealogy websites, Ancestry.com being your favorite for sure. It is.
I think it's the most user-friendly.
Okay, I was going to say popular,
of the websites that I'm familiar with.
Sure. But you liked FamilySearch.org. You liked, what else? Oh, the military one. Which one was that?
Fold 3.
Fold 3 you liked.
Now, Fold 3 is, and in some of the other ones, the Find a Grave, things like that we mentioned,
which I
are
love.
Resources for someone to go to that's seeking information. Ancestry, for example, you can go in there and you can actually build your tree on their site. And then in the process of doing that, they're going to let you know, Ancestry will let you know, based on the information that you've given them, if they have any information that looks like your ancestor. And then it's like going to a library and checking out a book.
Yes.
And you go in and they say, oh yes, well we have birth certificates and we've got a death certificate and we've got census reports.
You're like, oh my gosh.
And you think, wow. And then you open them. You literally can open up through Ancestry, the site that has your certificates, let's say, and determine whether or not they are yours. And if they are, you can save them to your account. And so your account becomes like a file folder.
Sure.
That's a collection of all these documents. You're not actually having to physically collect the documents yourself at home.
I love that.
It's done on the web. And it's wonderful. And as new information becomes available, they'll let you know. They'll put a little tiny green leaf up next to your ancestor's name, and you know that they've found more information about your ancestor without you doing a thing. So it really is
collective.
Easy. It's collective.
It's collective, yeah.
It is.
Were there any other main... Oh, we talked about DNA testing. That was a big one.
We did.
We clearly have done it, and we just got...
We did it. Oh, my goodness.
You guys, oh, my gosh. So this past week, literally, you guys know I record just the week ahead, so this is pretty real time as far as information goes. But just a couple days ago, I got an email, and I literally had to call my mom because it said, hey, your breakdown, your percentage breakdown of regions has changed. We've updated it because we've got more information. So I hopped on, and I used to be, it was like 39% Scottish, almost 40%.
Yeah.
It bumped me up to 50%. So 50% Scottish. So I was like, well, if I bumped up,
Mom probably did too.
I know Mom bumped up.
And I did.
You
even
did.
a little bit more.
Yeah, even more.
Up into this 60+%.
Yeah.
You know, the more people that are tested,
right,
the broader the base becomes
Yeah.
from which they can gather this information. It's amazing.
So we did talk last week about things that get handed down, and I will tell you a little pebble in my shoe has been all the years. My mom has this beautiful, gorgeous red hair.
Oh.
Her brother, beautiful, gorgeous red hair. Both of her parents, redheads. Freckles, the whole thing. You would look at her and be like, okay, you're either Irish or Scottish. If you looked at
one would think.
I did not get it. Yeah. I can say I get some highlights every now and then, right? But I'm certainly not a mite. Yeah. But I get some highlights. My brother did not get it. No, we know red hair is a recessive gene, but two of my brother's kids did get it.
Yeah.
So it skipped, the redhead skipped me. Red hair.
And my brother was a redhead.
Yeah, so you and your brother and your parents.
Unusual for both parents to be redheads and both of their children.
Right?
Because...
No, I just said it.
It's a recessive... Right. I probably said absolutely too.
We're already failing.
But red being a recessive trait.
Yes.
Both my brother and I should not have been redheads, probably. Mm-mm. Oddly enough, neither you nor Michael. Yeah. You have red highlights.
I have some.
Michael definitely not. But my brother had a redheaded
That's
child.
right. He did.
And then my granddaughter was the first.
Yep.
Your brother's was the first.
Yep.
Well, both of them are from his family.
Yes.
The redheads.
So
it'll be interesting to see how that keeps getting passed down.
Neither of my boys are red hair at all. There's not even a glimpse of it, but it'd be curious to see.
But they could have a redheaded child.
They could. It's a recessive gene, especially if whoever they marry or
has that same recessive.
So anyways, we digress.
Yeah,
okay,
we do.
So we talked about DNA we digress yet again. That was something we did often in the past 2 episodes.
Yes, we did. But that's okay.
Hopefully the listeners are okay with all that.
Be patient with us.
That's right. All right, so we talked about DNA testing. We talked about we chose to do it through Ancestry DNA, but there's also 23andMe and also one called Living DNA, which I don't know much about. But we also focused on some supporting websites that could have some more details in it for specific genealogy. You have like Jewish ancestry or those were options. And then we also mentioned some things like Ellis Island, iffy, but maybe.
Ellis Island is wonderful.
Okay.
It depends on where you are in your research. Again, once you get back into the early 1800s, Ellis Island was not there.
That's right.
Yeah. And so you start relying on naturalization records, things of that sort. It's limited.
Sure.
Just to the time frame in which it was operating.
You also wrapped it up nicely on that first episode for us, talking about do not reinvent the wheel.
No.
Ask for help. Go to your local libraries. Look and see if there are historical societies maybe in your town or somewhere close to you.
Yes.
Reach out.
And if you really get stuck, there are professional genealogists, which a local genealogical group or society would be able to point you in the right direction. I mean, we all hit what they call brick walls.
Right.
Sometimes they're just, we can't get past them.
Yeah.
And depending on how determined you are to get past it, I just keep hitting my head against a brick wall and hoping that someday I'm going to figure it out.
It's going to break.
But the other people wouldn't even go as far as I have. I mean, they'll just say, oh, no, I'm going to hire somebody.
Sure.
And, we'll get this figured out.
So that's a great thing that I don't think we talked about. So there are people that will do all of this work for you. Comes at a price, but...
It does. But, I think you're missing... You'll reach a final destination, but you're missing the journey, if you will. The journey is what makes it exciting. It is. It's that discovery, that aha moment, if you will. That all of a sudden it's like, wow, I found this.
That's right. Yes.
Damn, I did just fine with all of.
All right, so that was, I think that's a good recap of the first episode that we did.
Okay.
Then on the second, the part 2 of our 3-part series, we got into more of the spiritual side of things.
Yes.
Maybe not too deep, but a little bit. We touched on it. Mm-hmm. I had, and I think I record this before I record my intro, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to be putting in what happened with me over this past weekend.
Okay.
But I reached out to you specifically. I first reached out to Annika and I was like, oh my God, I just talked about this on the podcast and now I'm watching a show. It was just like all these, there's some weird stuff.
That program that we were talking about. Right.
Yes. The mtDNA, I got into, and the mother's line specifically, right?
Yes.
I know one of the things I forgot to tie it into, I think I focused heavily last week on, things get handed down. So if you're afraid of something, you don't know why, it could be because of many generations past, right? Something got handed down.
Yes.
Some fear. I think it also works with witchcraft, though. If you are drawn to this craft, this practice, and you don't know why,
there's a reason for it.
Yeah, this could be something that's just been handed down, right?
And it may not.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh. I can't.
It may not be something that, I think the word I want to use is, it may not be overt. It may not be terribly obvious, nor maybe was it talked about in the family as, that grandma's a witch, or, anything of that sort. But I think it's just certain knowledge, I guess,
just like
knowledge.
Gut instinct?
Yeah,
that's
instinct. I think that's what does get handed down. Maybe it's DNA. I do not know the science of DNA well enough to talk to it with any authority.
Yeah, right.
But my gut feeling and knowledge is that a lot of these things have been passed down for hundreds of years in a family, from mother to daughter, and then back as far as you want to go, or mother.
Yes.
Other way around.
Yes.
And I think it becomes its own life after some point. Like I really feel that my mother's mother, my Grammy, was very much in tune with all of us. It was never said that she had any mystical powers.
Sure.
Or any, but she just seemed tuned in to life on so many levels.
Like to the seasons, to the natural rhythm of the earth. And
Exactly. To the spiritual side.
So, okay.
And I honestly think that was handed down. Now, whether or not my mom acted on it, I think maybe I was too close. I can take a step back and see my grandmother, but with your own mom, sometimes because you're there and it's such a close tie, you don't always see things the same. I would not say that. Okay, for an example, my mom was not a gardener. Yeah. She could barely keep a plant alive. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
Dad was kind of the one that.
Yeah, he was.
And who knows? Maybe this gets. I mean, it's a mixture.
It'll tie in.
It's a mixture.
It's a mixture of everybody. Yeah.
He had a mom.
That's right.
Some of her DNA got passed down.
That's right.
To my dad. But on the other hand, Mom was really tuned into a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And you just have to look at the big picture. You really do.
I find that is one of the most beautiful things about witchcraft, and sheer act one, it's not a closed practice.
No.
Anybody, if this is what your calling is, then you can do it.
Right.
But it's your choice to pick and choose what works for you. Not every witch is an herbologist. Not every witch can read tarot cards. Not every witch can.
No.
Not every witch works with deities.
Yeah.
I don't. No. That is not in.
But isn't that true of any endeavor that we seek out? Religion, for an example. I don't want to get off onto that at all. But there are so many different forms of, I'm going to put religion in quotes when I say that. And it isn't a one size fits all. You find what works for you and what aligns with your core beliefs. Mm-hmm. A lot of that.
So witchcraft isn't a religion.
No, I know. Yeah. I realize that.
Wicca is. So Wicca will take a lot of things from, but not every witch is Wiccan. Is a Wiccan.
Okay.
I'm not Wiccan.
I wasn't meaning to liken it to a religion. It was more liken it more to any endeavor that you're interested in.
I see.
And it's up to personal interpretation. It always is.
Yeah, but religions, like the newer religions,
that is not open to interpretation.
No personal. Yeah, no. You are told what to do and what to believe and how to behave. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's very appealing to people is you can pick and choose what parts complement your life and that bring
I'll have to be very honest because of you, I'm learning more.
Right.
Even at my advanced age.
There's no age cap.
There's no age cap on it.
It can be any time.
But I don't think it's not something that I'm not familiar with. Even though does that make sense?
Oh my gosh.
It's
Mom.
new to me.
Yes.
Because of talking about it as what it is a new for me. But the concepts behind it aren't new. It's been a part of my life forever.
That's so literally I was on whose podcast? Oh, Witch Wednesdays. She interviewed me for one of her podcasts, for one of her episodes, and that was the question. How did you feel about coming into being a witch? And I've talked about it with the boys too. It's like I've never labeled myself as a witch until recently, more recently. But every time I was looking into something in the craft, I was like, well, I've been doing that forever.
Yeah.
I just haven't called it witchcraft.
It has. We haven't put a name on it.
I go to something else. I look at another area of witchcraft. I start studying it. I'm like, well, geez, I've been doing that forever too.
Yeah.
I just never called it all these things all of a sudden had a name.
Right.
Which doesn't validate them really, but it does give you a sense, or gave me a sense of coming home.
Okay.
Like I felt like, oh my gosh, wait, there's a place for all this stuff that I've been doing since I was a little kid, or seeing spirits and seeing there's a place for all this. It was amazing.
And see, what it is you've got little bits and pieces that might be scattered.
Yes.
And all of a sudden you're bringing them in and putting them into one basket,
right,
so to speak. That's very comforting.
It was.
There's a very a great deal of satisfaction that you can get from that, which is huge.
It is. It is. Yeah. Okay, so the listeners are getting used to us going down to these little side ventures and rabbit holes, I think.
Well, like they know, what are they doing now?
Why are they? Isn't this about Dumb Supper?
Yeah.
Okay, so then on the second episode, last week we definitely talked about the DNA. We talked about the mtDNA. Then I had that thing, which hopefully I'll put in my intro. I'm not sure. And we talked about the spiritual stuff. Maybe if you find something that has happened, you uncover a cultural or spiritual tradition in your family that they're not familiar with, to take their time, research and understand the tradition's context, connect with community or experts of that tradition. Maybe if you really want to understand it more, just like we said, like, hey, I've always been drawn to this stuff. I've been doing it. Where do I start educating myself on so I know more about witchcraft? Because this is in my bones. Yeah. Okay, or whatever the tradition is. And then if you do say, okay, this is something I want to incorporate into my own personal practice, do it mindfully, honor the origin and respectfully. Yeah. Okay. Do you feel like over the last 2 weeks there are, after listening to it and kind of reminiscing on it, are there any major gaps? In your mind, do you think we missed something where you're like, oh shoot, I really want to make sure the listeners have a chance to know this or something?
I don't think, to answer your question outright, I don't think there were any major gaps by any means. But I think a lot of us kind of wonder, well, I don't think we've got any family traditions, or none that I'm aware of. Sure. Particularly. But you have them and you may not know it. Okay. Kind of a thing. Okay. Something as simple as what you fix for, I'll use the case of a holiday, because most of us can relate to a holiday. Sure. For us, it was Christmas. Yeah. Christmas dinner is a tradition. It is. It's what you grew up eating, the same foods, kind of a thing. I can take it earlier in the day to Christmas breakfast. We always had enchiladas. Yep. Strange. There's a reason, though, guys. There is a reason. That's a whole nother episode. But as far as the dinner goes, like my mom's mother she would can spiced peaches during the summer. And those peaches weren't brought out until Christmas dinner. That's it. That's right. Not Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner. Yes. I happened to have the cut glass bowl that they were served in. So there again, a tradition. This year is going to be a huge tradition for me personally for the holidays. Yeah. I just recently come back into possession of my parents' dining room table, which was my grandparents before them. So it's like this table has made, and in itself, it's a tradition. It has been multiple generations that it's seen. I happen to be fortunate enough to have my mother's china and her silver. I mean, not that these are important things, but they were things that were part of my parents' lives. I've got the table. I've got cutware that belonged to her mother, my grandmother. I'm going to use all of it this year for Christmas. So this year, all of these, kind of like the dumb supper that we'll be talking about very shortly.
Yeah.
All of these elements that belong together are going to be together again after maybe 20 or 30 years on the same table at the same time.
That alone. So here's another difference that you'll find with a lot of witches is that we believe things hold energy.
Oh.
It's a very animated way to say, like, somebody's like, it's a dish. It doesn't have a personality or emotions, right?
No,
but
there's energy.
Most witches are going to say it holds energy.
I firmly believe that everything in life has energy.
The table, right?
The table. Like I can touch the table.
That's it.
And I get vibes from it.
Right.
I mean, I know that sounds.
No, it doesn't. Not to anybody listening on this one, I promise.
Okay. I have certain artifacts, if you will. I've got a key. We talked about it in the previous episode. It's on my desk right now. I hold that key in my hand and I can feel vibrations from that key. I don't understand it, but I know I do. So on some level, there's a connection to that inanimate object.
Right.
But it was my grandmother's. And I don't know whether she received it brand new or whether it had been somebody else's before hers. More than likely, she got it new.
Sure.
Because as I remember, the piece wasn't an antique kind of.
Well, I can definitely help you with some of that.
So
we can do
good.
We can do a whole podcast or episode on keys.
Really?
There's a lot of different ways we can go with this one, Mom, especially if you were actually feeling something when you hold it.
I can just hold it without clutching it. I can hold it in my open palm and I feel something from it. I don't understand it.
I believe. Well, let's hope you understand.
Okay.
That's what's empowering.
Okay.
Is when you and that's what I think is the stuff that gets handed down.
Yeah.
It's coded in our DNA. It's all these little things that we don't know why we have certain things, but you're like, I'm picking up something.
Yeah.
I'm going to research this. I'm going to find out what do keys mean? What do
right?
You start putting the research into that, and you're like, okay, this does have significance because of X. So that would be a fun one to bring you back on for.
Putting a puzzle together.
Absolutely. Especially you like doing the work with genealogy. You just do the same work on a different topic. It's keys.
Right.
For that episode. So let's slate that for January maybe and talk about keys.
I would love it.
Okay, awesome. All right, so any other things to wrap up episode 1, 2 of our 3-part series?
I think to capsulize, I would just say the process of genealogy is really, it can be as complicated as you want it to be.
Sure.
But basically it's very simple. Choose an app. My choice was Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's telling.
Well, yes, that's a whole other episode. It was Ancestry, and the minute you go on to it, I think there's a free trial period that you can be involved with, but you literally start with putting your name on a chart. You know when you were born, you know where you were born, you know the names of your parents. It'll ask you to fill in as much information as you know. And once you hit enter, man, it starts working for you. And before you know it, I would guarantee in less than 10 minutes, you're going to have more records than you can shake a stick at to have to go through and start analyzing whether they belong to your family or not. And exponentially, that tree is just going to blossom. It's wonderful.
And that's where you do have to pay for something like this. This is a paid subscription, but it is doing the work for you and providing the resources for you without you driving physically to a library or doing something like that.
It's done electronically.
Done.
And it's done.
Amazing.
How beautiful is that?
All right. Well, the October Thin Veil it's happening now. We are recording this in October. Like this is, and actually, just so you know, and listeners, this will help you understand when we're doing it. It is Friday, the Friday before this airs, and it is a full moon. So we had our huge full moon right now. That is typically when spirits come out to reach me, anyways. But the fact that it is an October full moon. We've got a lot of energy right now, so I am really happy that we are recording this on Friday night. And
I love it.
The full moon was last night, but it is a strong full moon. We are feeling it. It is still full tonight.
Does the full moon, I mean, you were the one that knows this. I'm coming at this as a novice.
Yeah.
Does it affect owls or wildlife?
It has to, at least on the level of the sky being brighter.
Okay. Oh, so for hunting would be easier
just
for
the
them.
Sheer fact of whether are they going to be more active because of a full moon? I can say water-wise, the moon definitely dictates our tides.
The tides, right? Yes.
Our body is what's the percentage? 90-something% water.
Water.
We're water. So
yeah, we are.
I'm probably not the best core witch in the fact that I tend to like actual proof of stuff. It's so
okay,
horrible.
No,
I'll
that's
this to
okay.
you. I mean, we're recording, so the listeners are going to hear it.
Yeah.
But, like, I was like, oh, crystals, maybe. Until I started researching them, and I'm like, wait, crystals power our like walkie-talkies, our communication, our stuff. Like, this is all, it's all energy again. So once I had more proof, then I was like, okay, I'm in.
Okay.
With the spirit world, I don't need proof. I've had it since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I get visited. So that one, and then my dreams. Like, I know I had, so there's certain things is like, okay, I'm in because I've got something to back it up. If I don't have anything to back it up, I tend to be honestly a little
more cautious.
We're just I'm just a little more skeptical. I'm like, but does it? But then once it reveals itself to me, and it's like, okay, this is happening, this is real, then I'm like, I'm in.
I'm all
in.
in.
I'm all in.
Okay.
So I can say, while the spirits have been a part of my life. Do you remember me talking about the spirits and being visited? Okay, when I was little.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And to be very honest, because I didn't understand, I think I dismissed it. I may not have supported you.
Oh, but that's okay. It was nothing. Somehow the spirits were negative to me, so they were scary. Okay. So more, and I've said this to every therapist I've ever talked with, even recently, for the therapy I went after. Like, I remember going to bed because I knew I was going to see spirit. I knew I was going to see ghosts, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Is telling myself, like, I'd be so tired. I'd be so deathly tired. I just wanted to go to sleep.
Oh,
I was like,
sleep, yeah.
I was so scared to go to sleep because I knew what was going to happen that I would just be like, it doesn't even matter. If I die, I die. Oh, as a kid, I told myself that over and over again. Wow. And that's a tough one. I was like, I would just be so tired. I was like, I don't even care anymore. Yeah. I don't even care. Like, if they're that scary and they're going to harm me, I don't even care.
But they weren't there to harm you.
They weren't.
They were messengers.
Or just they were just there. Sometimes. Like, sometimes they were just, I would just see them going from Mike's room to your room. Like, I would just see them going across in the hallway, and I was like, oh, you guys, I just want to go.
Yeah, I just want to go to sleep.
I just want to go to sleep. Yeah. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what. Go away. Yeah. So that has, I think, evolved over the years for me. Okay. And then when I learned, even though we weren't religious, you didn't raise my brother and I to be religious at all. But there was some twinge of that potentially was bad. And that hovered over me. So I think when I learned later that they weren't necessarily bad, nobody ever was there to scare me or hurt me. Or, like, Then it took off a different term. And even Taylor's football game a couple years ago. I know I said it on a podcast. We drove up. He picked me up at the hotel. This is 22, maybe 2 years ago. Okay. Anyways, in the fall, I know it was a full moon because I brought my crystals with me. I was like, okay, it's a full moon. I'm traveling, but I want to bring something with me just to support, right? And respect the full moon. I had him out in the hotel. We pulled up. He picked me up at the airport late, Chicago airport, and we pulled up to the hotel. And I literally said, I looked over at him and I said, I have a bad feeling. I have a bad feeling about this hotel. Oh. And he was like, really? Like, he's and Taylor. He's like, what do we got to do? Yeah. He's so protective. He's like, okay, well, like, what are we doing? Are we going to a different hotel? And I was like, no, like, it was late. It was 10 already or so, whatever it was. I'm like, no, baby, you've got a game tomorrow. Just
let's
I'm just going to do it. I got myself in the hotel room. I talked about it. I don't want to recap it on one of the episodes a long time ago, but I got in the hotel room. Nothing happened. That night, nothing happened.
Okay.
The next night, after his game, so I wasn't drinking. There was nothing to alter my state of mind.
Okay.
It happened.
Oh, really?
And the exact same thing that happened to me when I was little happened in that hotel room. And I knew it. I knew the portal they were coming through was one of the mirrors in the room. Like, I knew everything. But this time, having a lot more power on my side.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, we're totally digressing. But
I'll make this quick. That's okay.
Having much more power and control on my side, I reached out. I physically reached my hands out to like touch because they were right above me.
The entity. Okay.
Yeah. And then there were no faces. There was nothing. It was just like
like energy.
No, like smoke. Like I could see it. My eyes were open.
There was a visual.
I could visually see them.
Wow.
Floating around the room, but I reached out and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna embrace this. I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah.
This has happened since.
And what happened?
Nothing. At some point, they went away. Like,
okay.
Nothing scary. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody said
nothing
boo.
Threatening. Nobody said boo.
Yeah, nothing threatening. Nothing. But I embraced it a very different way. I haven't had that type of activity. I've had different activity.
Sure.
But I haven't had that type of like swirling around like when I was little.
Wow.
Except for 2 years ago.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, hearing you talking about this and knowing from personal experience things that have happened.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen things that I can't explain.
Right.
And I think I tend to try and minimize it. And maybe that's in self-defense because I can't explain it.
As humans, we like to have a reason why.
We do.
That's just,
that's
how we're wired.
Being a human.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I know that I've only lived in 2 places, let's say in the last 15 years, 2 different physical locations.
Right.
It's happened in both locations. And here quite recently. And I think I try to understand what's going on. I don't feel threatened, oddly enough.
Sure.
But I feel confused because I can't explain what I've just seen.
Right.
And
but that's where the research, like you're so good with research.
I know.
You start researching this stuff.
Should, and I have not.
But that it will probably give you answers. It might open up a whole nother.
Meaning finding out things about the family, or just in research into this kind of phenomenon.
To that specific. So I think everybody has different gifts. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Some people can cross over with multiple gifts.
Okay.
Right? Some people, and there's different clairvoyant, clairaudio. There's different things. Some people see things. Some people are going to hear things. Some people are going to smell things. I think.
Okay.
Or maybe you're not even trained in that area and you haven't honed in on those gifts.
Right.
And you just know, like, wow, there's no reason for me to smell tobacco smoke right now.
No.
There's nothing going on. That's a typical one for a spirit being near you. Tobacco. It's not tobacco actually, but it's that smoke sense. Mm. So we literally are already like
we could be on a whole nother topic at this point. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys. We'll just do like how about this? How about you and I just do an open mic one time where we can just chat, and if listeners want to listen, they can. If they don't, they don't.
I would love that.
Okay, let's go. So I think we did a pretty good job.
Yes.
With the first 2 episodes.
I think so. I mean, I'm sure that if I really gave it extended consideration, I might come up with a few more things. Basically, my thoughts are the same as they were at the end of the 2nd episode.
Yes.
It's like, just have fun with it.
Have fun.
It's an exploration. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle.
Yes.
Some pieces are going to fit, some won't. You accept the ones that do, and you discard the ones that don't. And there's so many tools out there for you to take advantage of and to make your journey very almost effortless. Mm-hmm. And take advantage of them because it shouldn't be a painful process.
Yeah.
What might be uncomfortable somewhere down the line is some of the information that you might learn. But even that you have to put into context. It's life. That's what happened 200 years ago. You can't change it.
No.
did it help make you who you are?
That's right.
Absolutely it
Absolutely.
did. Absolutely it did.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's all good.
All right, so let's translate all of this then into this third part of our 3-part series. And calling some spirits in to sit and have a moment with us. We're choosing to do it actually on Samhain. That is one of the most popular times to do it. I think there's quite a few times throughout the year that you can do it, but Samhain, hand down, is the time to do it. It is the time. All right, so we're going to transition, you guys. We're going to go right into a dumb supper. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the traditions first, some other things with it, and then I'm going to actually go into the basics of truly, step by step, let's do it. Let's set up a dumb supper. So this really is a solemn and mystical ritual. It is often observed by witches and certainly spiritual practitioners, but particularly in the month of October. More specifically, though, during Samhain, actually on October 31st. Samhain is a sacred festival. It marks the end of the harvest and the beginning of our darker half of the year. And if you're going back into older times, way back, there were not 4 seasons. There were 2 parts of the year. It was just either the cold part or the warm part. So
I like that.
Right? We're entering the darker half of the year. So this dumb supper is rooted in ancient practices of ancestor veneration and communication with the spirit world. Our dumb supper truly is a powerful way to honor the dead, seek their guidance, and connect with the unseen realms. All right, let's jump into some of the basics first. And then, Mom, are you okay just to stay with me for this one?
I am okay to stay with you. Yay! I will not be able to contribute.
But you know what, though? Since this is, honestly, I haven't hosted a true dumb supper like this, like we're all in.
So it's a learning.
So this is going to be learning. So I pulled a lot of good notes.
Okay.
I've done like little versions of it, but not like the full Samhain dumb supper. So
okay.
I'm equally excited to get into this. But I thought if you have questions, go ahead and chime in, because maybe the listeners do too. So like if something pops up when I say something and you're like, hey, what does this mean?
Okay.
I would say ask it.
Go ahead and ask.
I would say, yeah, right?
All right.
Because then somebody who's listening is like, oh, thank you, because I just thought the same question. Okay.
Perfect.
All right, so the term dumb, Mom,
yes,
in this context refers to silence.
And may I say right now, I'm going to put a disclaimer out there.
We already know it's a struggle.
I'm not good at being silent.
No.
And when Charlene said to me, Mom, that means no talking, I said, what?
Yeah.
I said, you and I can't even talk? She said, no, it will be a silent supper.
Yeah.
And I said, okay.
All right, so we can talk a bunch beforehand. And,
there we go.
And I think that energy is going to invite them, and then talk about what happened afterwards. But this supper itself, once we sit down and we start the supper, we are actually going to ask.
Once we start eating, we're quiet.
We're going to ask the spirits to come.
Okay.
We're going to ask Grandma and Grandfather.
Okay.
Okay. So during a dumb supper, participants remain completely silent as a way to invite spirits, ancestors, and other entities to join the meal. All right, so this practice dates back to Celtic and European pagan traditions, where Samhain was believed to be a time where the veil between the living and the dead was thinnest. This made it easier, for spirits to cross over and commune with those who are still alive. So if any of the listeners, we definitely have Celtic roots, but if any of my listeners have Celtic roots that you've uncovered in your ancestry, research journey, your skin is probably covered in goosebumps throughout most of the month of October, right? This is your time. Samhain has deep, deep Celtic roots, and it was one of the most significant festivals of our ancient Celts.
Doesn't Halloween come from Samhain?
Samhain. It is branched from.
Yes. Okay. It's what's happened.
Pulled down and adopted from. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So Celtic ties to Samhain. I want to touch on those first because they are so significant. All right. Celtic New Year. You guys know I'm a January 1st girl, but if you're looking at the Celtic calendar, our Wheel of the Year, the Celtic New Year really does start it all. So Samhain was truly celebrated as the Celtic New Year, representing both an ending of, the harvest and light and a beginning of the new, darker half of the year. So the Celts viewed this, this time in a cyclical manner with, death and rebirth being central themes. Samhain was seen as a liminal time where the boundaries between the world of the living and the spirit world were porous, right? Allowing spirits, ancestors, and other worldly beings to cross over. Another thing with Celtic ties is going to be the strong ancestor veneration. For Celts, honoring their ancestors and the dead was a central part of the Samhain celebrations. They believed the spirits of their ancestors would return, that they would, come back to visit their homes during Samhain, and it was important to honor them with offerings of food and drink. So the tradition of setting the places that we're going to talk about, at the table for the dead and offering food during Samhain has strong ties to this dumb supper, which we are talking about today. Where a meal is shared in silence to
yes.
to invite the presence of their spirit.
How far back does this go? I guess I'm looking for a date. I don't know why, but to make it make sense to me, maybe in a little bit. Samhain, we know it's Celtic. It goes back.
Yep.
So are we talking 500 years, 600 years? Are we talking about 1,000 years? Do we know how far back Samhain was recognized?
I don't have a date, but we are talking back to before things were written down.
Oh,
that's how
okay,
far. So it was a verbal tradition that was handed down. Yeah.
Okay.
So before things were in text, in books, or it was a tradition of, as a Celt, this is what we do.
Not to take it in a whole nother direction, but I'm thinking of I was fortunate enough to be able to see Stonehenge on a trip that I took years and years and many years ago.
Everybody just turned super green and jelly.
Oh. Celts, obviously, connected to Stonehenge. And we know that goes back almost before things were actually being recorded. They were recorded in hieroglyphs and drawings on stone and things like that. So these are things that really, we're talking about going back talk about traditions being handed down from generation to generation.
If you're a Celtic, this is what you did.
Okay.
This is what you did. On the 31st, you celebrated the people in your ancestry, your family who has passed, and you invited their spirits to come back. You honored their spirit.
Okay.
All right. So
Wonderful.
Another way Samhain was celebrated in the Celtic community was the tradition of moving into those darker months, that they would light bonfires to ward off any malevolent spirits and protect their community. At the same time, they would welcome spirits of the ancestors during these bonfire celebrations who were considered to be helpful and protective. This theme of inviting benevolent spirits into the home, I think, really is echoed in a dumb supper, certainly what they did back then, but what we are going to be doing today too.
I can see that.
Yeah. All right. So Celtic ties to the specific dumb supper. I think there's probably going to be three main ones. They are going to be liminality and the thin veil. I think it's going to be about silent communication with the dead, and then also the reversal of time and rituals. So I'll touch base on all three of those because they are pretty strong ties back again to that Celtic community.
All right.
So the concept of liminality, the state of being between two worlds or phases, is central to both Samhain and the Dumb Supper. So during Samhain, the Celts believed that the veil between the physical world and the spirit world was at its thinnest, making communication with the dead easier, right? It's thin, so I can talk.
Yeah.
So the Dumb Supper ritual, observed in silence, creates that...
She keeps stressing that.
It's going to happen, you guys. I know it can happen.
Hint, Mom, don't talk.
But it creates that space of stillness and liminality, where participants can connect with the spirit realm. Reflecting the ancient belief that, in the ease of contact with the dead, it's happening during this time.
Liminality. What does that mean? Liminality.
So liminality
limited?
is... Well, it's referencing the liminal space between our two worlds. Like,
there might be the veil being thin.
Yeah, so
it's limited.
Right. So we are thin right now. That space, that gap is closed. Like, we can cross over. They can cross over. Maybe we can't cross over. They can cross over.
Okay.
So it's talking about the state of being between the two worlds or phases.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
so second, I think, with the strong Celtic ties, we've got the silent communication with the dead. So this is more about the tradition of silence in the Dumb Supper, that is going to tie back to the belief that the spirits communicate in subtle, non-verbal ways. Side note, Annika got such a freaking download today. It was, that's this poor girl. Like, I feel so bad for her. I mean, I'm so happy for her. But she got hit one after another with signs. Like, she's doing some stuff tonight, Mom, for the full moon.
Really?
But it was like, it's also October. Like, I'm like, girl, somebody's trying to reach out to you. She kept sending me. It's amazing.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm gonna need a follow up.
Right? Yeah. No. Yeah. I do too. I need to reach out to her tomorrow morning. But it's really hard to get caught up. It's really hard. It's really easy to get caught up in all the noise and distractions, I think, that we have in our current world.
Oh, we're used to it.
We're used to it.
Yeah.
But when you quiet yourself, whether you're meditating, you're creating whatever, the Dumb Supper, silence.
Be uncomfortable.
But it allows you to recognize things that are happening around you. So it doesn't mean... So if somebody says, oh my gosh, I never get signs. Well, they probably do.
But you don't know it.
They don't know it because they're so distracted by all the other noise that's going on. So that silence is so key, and it really was a big part, going back to the Celtic ties. You've got to be able to be in a space to listen, hear, see, feel, however way they communicate. It's probably going to be subtle and we know it's going to be nonverbal.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe not 100%.
Well,
okay. It probably is going to be nonverbal.
Yeah.
For the Celts, it was important to honor the dead with food, but they also understood that spirits could not partake in the physical sense. They're not physical.
They're not going to be eating it.
They're not. Well, they're not physical. They're not physically
No, they're
here.
not physically here.
Yeah. So by eating in silence and offering symbolic foods, whoever's doing the Dumb Supper, participants, we get to mirror the ancient practice of feeding the dead in ways that transcend to our physical world. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay.
It does.
Right. Okay, so the third one with the Celtic ties, as far as, pulling in Celtic ties to the Dumb Supper, is the reversal of time and ritual. So the Celts saw time differently than we do today. Their festivals often involved reversals or cyclical patterns, to honor the turning of the wheel of the year.
Okay.
So at a Dumb Supper, we are going to eat the meal in reverse, starting with the dessert, and then going to the main course, and then if it's typical, ending with an appetizer or salad, something like that. So
oh my goodness,
that's a big one, right?
Wow, yes.
This is a symbolic gesture that aligns with the Celts' belief that in that cyclical time, right? It serves as a ritual way of connecting with the other world where the normal rules of our time and life are possibly inverted or shifted.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so
so we're going to start in the Dumb Supper that we're going to be planning now.
We start with dessert.
We're going to start with dessert.
Mm-hmm. So in a little bit, we're going to go through step by step what we're going to do.
I have an actual mechanical question.
Okay, let's go. I love it.
Which
Let's do, okay.
I've already decided what our dessert's going to be an apple crisp, because that's one of my grandmother's. It has to be an apple.
It has to be an apple crisp.
It has to be. Okay.
Has to.
So we serve it.
Yeah.
You and I eat it.
Okay.
Quietly.
In silence.
With our thoughts of our ancestors. And when it's time to go to the main course after that, what do we do with the portion? I mean, sounds really silly. The portions of food that were served for our ancestors. Do we put it back into the pot? Do we throw it out? I mean, is there kind of a rule that we should follow for that?
I have a wonderful answer for you.
Oh.
In just a moment.
Oh, I was too quick with my question. I'm sorry.
No, so yes, there are things that we're going to do with them. There are choices that we can make as far as what is going to make sense and be respectful for what we can do.
Exactly.
Not everybody's going to have the same options, but I'm going to give you and we'll come up with what works best for us, but the listeners some great options. That is an amazing question, and it is totally valid. I have an answer for you in just a bit.
I love it. And I have another question.
Yes. Okay.
We're talking about Celtic traditions and all this. What if some of the listeners don't have a Celtic background?
Yeah, so most practices are not closed, except for there's a small handful of, like, you have to have certain heritage to be in this practice. So if
really?
you identify with the Celtics, or if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any Norse in my background, but I'm so drawn to it, they're not closed practices. There are absolutely
some that are closed
practices.
Okay.
That you can't just say, oh, I'm going to be this.
Well,
and
or I want
practicing.
To observe this.
Yeah,
or
exactly. The Celts are not that way. The Celtic history is not that way. It's not closed.
It encompasses the Celtics nomadic somewhat in broad swath across Western Europe.
Absolutely.
And so
But you don't have to be from there. You could be from Chile. You could be from Venezuela and be like, I don't know why, even if I'm not finding it in my history, but I am really drawn to this practice. Go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people really drawn to Greek deities.
Oh, absolutely.
And they might not have any Greek in their background. But
one of my grandsons.
Not so much anymore. He's all Norse.
Oh,
but he was highly into the Greek deities for a long time. Yeah. And researching them.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going. So
yes, sorry about that. I'm sorry.
No, that's good. These are all, and that's why I love that you stayed on for this part, because I feel like this is new. Certainly, hosting a dumb supper to this level, to this detail, it's new for me.
We're talking about following it tooth and nail.
I plan on doing it tooth and nail.
Oh, and I do too.
So I've done some light work with spirit stuff.
Do we have a follow-up episode after we've done this?
The listeners are gonna be like, yes, please.
Yes, please.
What happened? All right, so Celtic ties, we've got the liminality, right, the thin veil, silent communication with the dead, and then reversal of time and rituals. Those are three pretty strong ones. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go into the role of offerings real quick and spirit guidance. I think in both Celtic, Samhain traditions and the modern Dumb Supper, offerings are going to play a pretty significant role. So during Samhain, Celts would leave food outside their homes or maybe on their tables as offerings to wandering spirits, to the fairies, or to their ancestors. The silence observed during the meal that we hold today, like in our current times, allows participants to be more receptive to any messages or signs from the spirits. Right? We don't have that distraction, all that noise.
Exactly.
So, and it's just like, or much like, I think the Celts believed they could receive wisdoms, maybe warnings, whatever it was, from the other world during Samhain.
Okay.
So historically, a dumb supper was a way to honor their deceased loved ones, to maybe seek closure. They didn't get to say goodbye. They wanted the spirit to come back, whatever it was. Maybe it was to gain insight from the other side.
Okay.
I think witches and practitioners would use the silence, or can use the silence to heighten their sensitivity to the energies around them. And this silence in today's day, it still helps to foster a deeper connection with those who have passed on. Let's go through the components, right?
All right.
So we have a general understanding of what we're going to be doing here.
What we're going to be doing
in 2 short weeks. Oh my gosh!
Wow.
All right.
Yeah,
so a dumb supper
right.
is typically going to be held after sunset.
All right.
Reinforcing the connection to the spirit world and the mysteries of the night. The table is often set with symbolic elements such as candles. I'm hoping, honestly, Mom, that we just have a only candlelit room. I think we can do that.
Oh, I think we can do that.
You've got some.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, real candles.
We can do both. We can do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the table is going to be set with like candles, right? Representing the light.
Definitely can do that.
And it's going to help guide the spirits to us. If we have photos, which is this whole room, I actually am going to take a video that I'm going to put on Patreon, so my viewers who are over on Patreon can see this. Like this, I'm going to have you walk me through it too. Because this is such an amazing.
Yeah.
Like
I feel
photos
very connected with these photos.
You already do.
Yeah.
Okay, but so for everybody listening though, you want to grab photos. If you have personal items of the deceased that you're hoping to get in contact with, and an extra place setting, of course, right? A physical place setting at the table,
right?
For the spirits who you want to invite so that they can attend.
It can be anybody.
It can be. We don't know. We might be asking for Grammy and grandfather. We don't know.
They may not show up at all.
Could be somebody else.
Yeah.
So typically though, like I think black, white, and purple. These colors are, associated with death, transformation, and the other world. So these are often going to be used to decorate the altar or the table with.
Oh, now that's interesting.
Okay.
So just so your listeners know,
yeah,
I'm one of those people that loves to decorate for the seasons. And right now on my dining room table, I've got pumpkins and I've got autumn leaves. And I've got some candles.
We've got candles going.
And it's all good. But it's colorful. And so this probably is not what I'm going to want on my table.
It's probably not going to be what's on the table. So again, we're going to want black, white, and purple to represent that.
Okay.
Before
Gotcha.
and after. Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I think you can do what you want to do. I'll be honest. That's the beauty of this stuff is. But if we're going to do historically first,
I'd like to follow it as historically as possible.
Okay. So I say let's do that.
Okay.
And if we need to tweak it for next year, we'll tweak it.
We tweak it. Yeah.
Okay. So a key aspect of the Dumb Supper is going to be the reverse order in which the meal is served and consumed. So participants are often going to start with the dessert and then end, like I said before, with that main meal course. This symbolizes the reversal of time and the cyclical nature of life and death.
Okay.
So some of us are also going to choose to serve foods that are favored by their ancestors or loved ones who have passed. We personally are going to doing this one.
Right.
This really helps to personalize the ritual. This is it. If we're calling somebody specific, what was their favorite drink? What was their
What's
favorite?
familiar to them?
What's familiar to them? Yeah.
Yeah.
So silence is going to be maintained throughout the meal, to create that environment of reverence, meditation, and openness to the presence of the spirits.
Okay.
So participants, though, may offer personal thoughts, prayers, or messages to the departed through gestures, mental invocation, or written notes placed on the table. So when we're doing it, I'm going to actually call them before we start. Then we're going to go into silence.
Okay.
But we can, if you want a note at your mother's table, at her place setting or your dad's place setting, write a note to Grammy. Write a note to grandfather and put it at their place setting. So there's things we can do to personalize it.
Okay.
But
that we would set up before coming to the table.
Once it starts,
it's quiet
until it ends.
Right.
Because we're not going to be able to see and feel things if we're sitting here chit chatting.
No.
We're going to be sidetracked with that. So we want to be able to understand something if it's happening, and it might not. We might have these grand ideas.
Okay.
I'm open.
Is there? We don't know what's going to happen.
Don't know.
Is it possible, or in the realm of possibility, that we could go through the Dumb Supper without talking, with following all the protocols, so to speak?
We've done everything right.
We've done everything what we think is right. What we think is right.
Right.
And not really either one of us seen any kind of a sign whatsoever. But a day later, or 2 days later, there could be a really overt sign that may have been a result of the Dumb Supper. I mean, is that's possible?
Absolutely, because maybe during what was going on, what we hold, your journey is going to be something totally different than receiving a message. Who knows?
Okay,
It's so personal. Like, who knows what you're going to physically feel, physically see, hear, smell, touch, like all your senses.
There's no way that anybody can predict that.
There's no way to predict that. But whatever it is, it's going to be exactly what you need.
Oh.
And maybe all of a sudden you're going to get an overwhelming, comforting feeling. Like you're just being held. Nobody's touching. You don't know. Like, you just want to be open to anything.
Okay.
And then that's what you needed at that moment. And then maybe, the next day, all of a sudden, you get a sign with a bee coming right up to you. Oh, God. And Grammy says, okay, I gave you a hug.
Yeah.
And you
I was there.
And maybe, like, when we're done, you're like, oh, shoot, we didn't see anything. We didn't hear anything. But, gosh, I just felt like...
Or it may be that she's just saying thank you.
Thank you for holding space for me.
Yeah.
Yes. And that little bee, or who knows? I mean, it may not have to be, but it's...
No, it could be anything.
That's why I think... I did a whole thing on signs, like, and it's so hard to understand them. Sometimes I do not understand them, especially what's been happening this past week and a half with me. Like, there's been so much going on, Mom. Like, I don't know how to process it all.
Wow.
It's overwhelming. It's too much.
Yeah.
But then I'm trying to give myself a break. Okay, I don't need to know exactly what's going on now.
But accept the fact that it's happening.
Something's happening. I'm acknowledging the signals. I'm acknowledging the signs.
Yeah.
But it could be something. I think it could be easily something like that after a dumb supper of, hey, maybe it was a feeling I got, or maybe something wasn't super clear, but then the next day you're
like a delayed reaction kind of a thing.
For sure.
One of the things that I will share with you right now, which I haven't until this moment.
Yeah.
I'm very tuned into smells.
Yes.
And
scent is a big one, Mom.
It is a big one. Oh. My dad was a pipe smoker.
Yes.
Very specific cookie jar tobacco.
That was his tobacco.
Kind of a sweet, very aromatic pipe tobacco that he smoked. The other day, it was overwhelming.
The other day? Like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. I started crying. It was so overwhelming.
And you didn't blow out a candle, right? You didn't.
No.
That is a huge sign that a spirit is around you.
Oh,
huge. I mean, that is like.
Well, that's what I figured. It had to be something like that.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, oh my gosh, the flood of memories and emotions that just enveloped me. Yes. It was like a hug.
It was.
It was like a really reassuring hug.
Grandfather was probably there.
He must have been.
Smelling smoke is such a big signal of the spirit.
Really?
Absolutely. It is truly one of the signs.
You know, it's interesting. A couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, you gave me that candle.
Yes.
And I looked at it. I think it was called pipe smoke or pipe something.
It was pipe was in there. Yeah.
Santa's pipe.
Santa's pipe. I think it was
Santa's
pipe. Yeah.
Santa's pipe. And I remember opening that gift up, and the smell was so much Dad.
Yeah.
That it was overwhelming.
It was. You burst into tears.
Oh, did I? I don't remember that I did that, but doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, you did.
That I did.
Yeah.
So there we go. Okay. Needed to share that.
I love it. That is the stuff that you could experience, and that's why being silent, being still, to allow, if there is communication at whatever
that
form,
it'll come. It could come through them, but it could come in the next day too.
But we just want to be able to receive it and quiet our surroundings so that we're open to it, right?
And we can't be open to it if we're talking.
It's so difficult.
Yes.
It's so hard. It's so difficult.
Very difficult.
Okay, so why now? Why is the significance of holding a dumb supper in October and at Samhain important?
Okay.
Right, really, it's because the month of October is particularly significant because of its association with Samhain, right? It's our October 31st festival that marks the final harvest, the time when the earth is preparing for winter's dormancy, symbolizing the end of life and the anticipation of rebirth, right, in spring.
Yeah.
It is during this liminal period that we believe the boundaries between the physical world and the spiritual world are most permeable. making it perfect time to honor ancestors and those who have passed.
And it's been this way forever.
Ever.
For literally.
So I'm a big one.
Ever.
I'm a big one for May 1st.
Okay.
That is literally
Like
equally
equinox.
half from here, right? It's exactly 6 months more, and that is a big time for. From the Celts believe it was the Fae and the fairies.
Okay.
So I will be doing a lot more this coming, in May 2024, 2025 for that one.
But this.
There's something
going
about
back
this.
is. I mean, I'm not a historian by any means, but the little that I do know, going back as far as you can even imagine being able to go back,
right.
and I'm talking about a really long time. Things were based on seasons.
Yes.
There was I'm trying to remember what the lyrics from that song is, a time for this and a time for that kind of thing. But truth is, in the spring, it's rebirth, it's growth, and then as far as crops go, and that's what they were basing their lives on. They were going to live off of this. And then you come, harvest is harvest. It's October, it's the fall months. And after that, there's dormancy, which is equated to death. And,
but it has to happen.
You have to have that in order to have the rebirth in the spring.
And it's rhythm,
cyclical.
It's cyclical, and it's that rhythm that some people are, I think, really pushing to get back to.
Absolutely.
And
I can see that.
There's definitely a resurgence for stuff, but
yeah.
I think for witches too, October is not just a time to celebrate that cycle.
Right.
The natural cycle of life, death, and rebirth, but it's a time for deep reflection, right? We're slowing down.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming into the darker times.
Yes.
So the Dumb Supper allows for an intimate connection with one's lineage and ancestral wisdom.
Oh, okay.
It provides a way to receive guidance, hopefully, resolve maybe some lingering emotional wounds that we talked about in last week's episode. Or, it could honestly be really super simple and just a nice, honorable way to pay respect to those who have transitioned beyond the veil. Okay, so in addition to personal benefits, I believe the ritual reinforces my connection to the cyclical nature, honestly, that you just talked about.
Okay.
Our seasons.
Yes.
This is something that really, truly does speak to me on a very basic and core level. By working with the natural cycles, the natural seasons, I am aligning myself with nature's rhythms. Just as, our earth begins to rest, right, in the quiet autumn, the Dumb Supper embodies stillness and encourages whomever is doing it, whoever chooses to do a Dumb Supper, whoever the participants are, to slow down too, to reflect on their lives and to listen to these subtle messages from the spirit world. And let's be honest, sometimes their messages are not so subtle. I've been hit over and over and over again the past a couple weeks. I'm sure maybe part of it's because I'm just doing these episodes.
Right.
I'm drumming up this energy, but I've gotten slapped in the face with some stuff. It's
oh my goodness.
like even to where I physically was throwing up, Mom. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to share the story at the begining. I don't know. We'll see. So
my goodness.
Oh, it was intense. So my download has been intense, but
wow.
So I record these in 3 sections.
Okay.
The bulk I record in its own. I record the intro, saying hi to everybody.
Gotcha.
And then I record the ending separate too. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to start it off yet, but I'm pretty sure that's a story I'm going to share what's been happening. I reached out to you on a couple of them. There's some download. What am I? Okay. Let's talk about the potential spiritual impact of a Dumb Supper.
All right.
So it serves or can serve as a powerful tool for spiritual communication and introspection. So the actual act of sharing a meal with the departed, again in silence, it creates that sacred space for potentially emotional, spiritual healing, right? Many who work in this realm, I think hosting a Dumb Supper, they're going to report feelings of comfort, maybe closure, honestly, peace, right? After engaging in the ritual, especially when the messages from the other world are felt or sensed during the meal. We know, again, it might come a little bit later, but oh my gosh, if you actually get something during a meal, how profound would that be?
Oh.
So these messages, again, they can come in
I was
subtle
just-
forms, right?
Okay.
Candle flames, shifts in temperature, sudden profound feelings of memories that arise during the supper. Those are all little things that the spirits are guiding you to remember or to feel or to sense.
That was going to be my question. What form
can it come
can
in?
the signs
Yeah.
come? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it invites practitioners to heighten their perceptions and cultivate their relationship with the spiritual realm. This does take practice.
And you know, from a novice standpoint, I'll speak for myself here on this. A sign could slap me in the face and I might not know it. I mean, that's being a little facetious.
I know.
But truly, I mean, I like it mentioned the flickering of the candle flame, for example. Well,
but it didn't. So that's usually where a sign. So I had one of my flames go out.
Oh my goodness!
It was too much. But I think signs, like like there's something where it keeps revisiting you, and you're like, what was that? What was that? Like it keeps not haunting you, but haunting you.
You get reoccurring type thing, you mean, or not even that?
That specific event.
Okay.
Like, it'd be just like what you said. Like
you play it over and over again in your brain.
And it's for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not settling. Something is out of place. There's no reason for you to smell smoke.
No, absolutely none.
The other day, so there's no rhyme or reason for it. So
it was blatant.
So that one is a little bit more blatant. Something else might happen where you're like, you just keep playing it back and playing it back.
Yeah, what does this mean?
I would invite next time for you to start researching it. What does this possibly mean?
Oh, okay.
Because
that would be interesting.
It's not settling with you for a reason.
No, it isn't.
So that's
because
something. That's
it didn't provoke any particular thoughts other than memories, which were all positive.
Right.
It was all good. But
there's something.
But maybe that wasn't the message I was supposed to be getting. Maybe there was something else to it.
Maybe that's exactly what.
Pay attention.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, in modern times, I think witches and spiritual practitioners are going to modify the Dumb Supper, as they should, to fit their own needs. We're gonna take a very traditional approach to it on the 31st, but I want the listeners to know this can be modified. What I'm about, the steps I'm about to go through. So some of us are going to conduct the ritual alone. So I've dabbled in this one a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. While others are going to hold it maybe more as a communal experience with fellow witches, maybe family members like we're doing.
Okay.
So technology, such as playing music, lighting digital candles, there's a lot of things that we can do to enhance the atmosphere.
Okay.
But the core principle, right, those are all modern things, right?
Right, absolutely they are.
The core principle is going to remain the same.
Okay.
And that is going to be to create a space of reverence and connection to the spirit world through silence, symbolism, and, that shared act of breaking bread.
Yep.
Okay, so again, this is personal. What we are doing, it does not mean it is exactly what you need to do. Modify these steps, remove some, add some of your own. Do what you want to do to make it your own personal checklist, if you will. So I tend to overshare, but this is what we are doing. I'm going through exactly what Mom and I are gonna do. All right, so first, I would start with the actual space the Dumb Supper is going to be held in and on. I would break this down into the 3 steps. I would cleanse the space, I would set up an ancestral altar of some types, and I would prepare ritual elements. So before we're going to invite any spirits into our space and conduct any rituals, it is essential to cleanse your home, to remove any negative or stagnant energy that might be there. You can use methods like smudging with sage, Palo Santo, incense if you have it. You guys know I love my bells. So ringing bells or chimes helps with this. You can sprinkle salt water, in the corners of the room. This will create a purified and sacred space ready for spiritual communication. Do something though, right? Something to cleanse your home and remove negative or stagnant energy. I would definitely set up an ancestral altar. This would be, prepare some type of special altar in the area of your dining space that is dedicated to your ancestors or, loved ones who have passed. Decorate it with their photos, their personal items, candles, offerings. Of course, we're going to do the food stuff, but if you're not doing a full, supper that's going backwards, do something. Some type of food or drink that they enjoyed in their life. This altar becomes that focal point during the Dumb Supper where their presence is honored and invited.
Can the altar be on the table in front of each place setting? Or should I, because I mean, in my mind, not knowing all of this,
Sure.
I had kind of thought, well, it'd be nice to have a place setting set for mom and dad.
Right.
And then to have in front of the place setting specific items that we have, kind of memorabilia,
Yes.
like my dad's doll, Freddie, or some other things,
Yes.
back and forth between the two of them. Or should it be set up like on the sideboard collectively?
I personally would choose to have it at their settings.
Okay, that's
On the
kind of
table
what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So, so you and I, we're going to be, starting this over the weekend ahead of the 31st, only because I think I want to start drawing this energy and the spirits
Ahead of time.
hoping to work with, just so they are wanting to come into the space that we create on the 31st.
Yes.
So I'm going to start asking for, and maybe that's what the download I'm getting. I don't know. Maybe they're already saying they're coming, but
They may be.
Maybe. All right, so third, as far as, what I would start with, third would be to prepare ritual elements. This is going to be, about like arranging your table with intention, setting a place for the spirits that you wish to invite. Again, we're going to be hopefully doing I know I'm going to bring black and white candles.
Oh, good. Okay.
Again, that's going to be symbolizing the thin veil, but use other symbols. What resonates with you? Use seasonal decorations. We just talked about that. Pumpkins, autumn leaves, right?
Oh, okay.
Be sure to gather everything you need, though, before the silent meal starts. Any ritual tools, if you're going to be using incense, crystals, written messages, whatever you are going to be having at that table, once it starts.
Once you sit down, you don't change it.
This is it. We're in our ritual.
Okay.
Okay, so after we cleanse our space for the Dumb Supper, the next key, 3 things I think to prepare for the ritual are going to be to set the table with intention, prepare the meal, and then create an atmosphere of silence and reflection. Kind of get ready for all this, right?
So just so that I know, so that I'm because I'm learning everybody along with you. That day, I shouldn't that morning already have fixed the main course. Oh.
I will come over early enough where we can do this together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So set the table with intention. For this, I would arrange your dining table in a way that honors the spirits and ancestors that you are inviting. Place an extra plate, glass, utensils, whatever you would use for someone physically sitting at the table, right? And if you're not super formal, do you.
Do it that way.
This is a do you type thing, but
right.
You're duplicating everything for the spirit that you're inviting. So there's an actual place setting for them.
Right.
All right, this space, their space at the table, is to represent the presence of them, right?
Okay.
So, to decorate, grab all of the items that you pulled out for the dinner, the candles, again, black and white for protection and spiritual connection, photos.
Do those count?
These,
on the wall?
Those I think are great, but I would put
something on the table too.
Yeah,
okay.
I would. What else? You could do, anything like Freddie, the doll Freddie.
Okay.
If there's a pin, anything we can do that was theirs. I would, if you are lucky enough to have stuff. Not everybody will.
Not everybody will.
But
we're lucky.
Put stuff out if you have anything that's been handed down to you.
Okay.
And then offerings such as food and drink that they enjoyed in their living life.
Living life. Okay.
Grab it all. Decorate the table and, around the place settings for everybody.
Okay.
Set your table.
Okay.
Now, for preparing the meal.
Oh.
Cook the meal that you'll be serving during the Dumb Supper. So this is going to be, I think many of us are going to choose, to serve foods that our ancestors or our loved ones favored. For sure. And that's what we're personally doing too. So just remember, it's traditional to serve the meal in reverse order. Again, you're starting with dessert and ending with the main course or the appetizer. This backwards service symbolizes the reversal of time and the connection to the spirit world. So ensure that your meal includes a portion for the spirits, right? We're not just making food for you and me to eat. We're making food for 4 of us to eat that night.
Exactly.
Yeah. So something that the spirits, are going to be able to eat, something that is untouched as an offering. Their plates are getting served just as they were physically sitting down to eat, right? So if grandfather...
If they were actually here.
Yeah, if grandfather typically ate more, he gets more on his plate. If granny didn't really, she ate this, but it wasn't her favorite part, but she always cooked it for grandfather, she might, if she served the plates how they would have served themselves.
Oh, okay.
We are making their plates, right?
Okay.
And then third was to create that atmosphere of silence and reflection. So dim the lights if you can, use candlelight if you can, something to set that meditative and sacred atmosphere. So silence is central to a dumb supper. It allows participants to be fully present and open to spiritual communication. Right. So make sure everyone knows that the meal will be eaten in silence. Yeah. And then consider, starting with a brief silent invocation or prayer to invite the spirits into the space, which I will be doing.
Okay.
So you might also
want to silently.
No, I'm going to say something out loud before we start, will. And then we're going to go silent.
Okay.
You might want to have soft, meditative music playing in the background or use incense to enhance that sacred energy. So something fun for Grammy and Grandfather, if, music typically is very impactful in your teens. That typically is what translates in as far as your generation's music. It's what was playing when you were a teenager. So we might want to go back to oh God, please. If it was Frank for them, please.
No, I think he was more.
He might be older.
He was,
I think he's later for them. But you could have something like that playing very quietly in the background. Again, you don't want to distract yourself from potentially seeing signs. So I think for the dumb supper that you and I are doing, we are going to start inviting that energy again while we are cooking. Okay. We want to start having the conversations and tell them we are cooking, for them. We are inviting you in. We can reminisce, tell stories, share memories. I think that'll be a fun part to start the energy before we actually sit down for the dumb supper. And then, finally, before the silent portion begins, our silent portion of our evening begins.
Yes.
Again, I am going to verbally ask them and invite them in and call them, to please be present with us.
The experience of actually preparing the meal or cooking the meal, in thinking of the menu in particular, the dessert requires cooking. Does that mean that cannot be made ahead? That has to be prepared?
You can. Because I've got work that morning, so I'm going to be a little bit limited on stuff. But
the main course is easy enough to prepare that in the afternoon. It's quick,
right? And I'll get here as quick as I can.
Okay, but as you know, the apple crisp takes a while, and
so then if you can, I can help guide you on some things to do
during the time I'm preparing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. This is very exciting. Okay,
yes, it is.
Just as important as the ritual of the dumb supper is, I think when working with spirits, it's going to be equally important for us to be respectful in the closing ritual ceremony. So you mentioned or asked this earlier, what do we do? What do we do with the food?
Yeah. Yes, I did ask that.
That's part of it. And I'm sure everybody else asked the exact same question. So it is an important part, I think, of honoring the spirits and ensuring the energy in the space are properly grounded when we close things out. Okay. So I've got 3 parts to this one too. I think we express gratitude silently and verbally. Okay. We are going to extinguish the candles if people have them. That would be a time to do it. Right. And then dispose of offerings and ground the space. Oh. So at the end of the meal, I think it's going to be important for us to take a moment to pause and reflect in silence. Okay, so we can either quietly or aloud, again, for everybody listening, you do you here, depending on your practice, but we can thank the spirits and our ancestors for their presence, their guidance, and any messages received. So for this one, I think personally say something out loud. I think that's going to help bring us back to
ground us a little bit, if you will.
We can say something like, I thank the spirits and the ancestors for joining us tonight. Your presence is honored and cherished. As we close this meal, I release you with gratitude and love. May you find peace and continue to watch over us. Oh. It doesn't have to be that, but say something. Say thank you, right? Yeah. Come up with your own phrase, but somewhere in it, be sure to say thank you and then release their energy back. Second part, I would extinguish candles and kind of make that a little ceremonial, maybe, like as a symbolic gesture of closing the ritual. One by one, extinguish the candles that were lit to invite and honor the spirits. As we snuff each candle out, we can visualize the spirits gently leaving and rising up and away with the smoke, returning to their other world. Again, here would be a good place to say something if you've not already. You can say something like, with this light, I release the spirits back to their realms, with gratitude and respect. May we meet again in peace. Yeah. Again,
love that.
It's just right. Come up with your own words, but say something as you are blowing out the candles, releasing their energy back.
And that kind of makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
All right, dispose of offerings and ground the space. So after expressing our thanks, we do need to respectfully dispose of the food offerings that we placed out for the spirits. There's quite a few options here. You can bury the food outside as a final offering to the earth. You can leave it out overnight for in a natural space for the spirits. I totally understand if neither of those two options are available to you, though. If they are not, possibly maybe composting or just discarding them thoughtfully in a respectful way to return them to nature. So we'll have to come up with what we plan to do on this one. Yeah. So personally, I would probably go back to the bells at this point. I would ground the space by ringing a bell. You can clap your hands. You can use a grounding herb like rosemary or cedar to kind of close the ritual, energetically close it. Mm-hmm. But you can also perform a true closing chant or prayer, something to seal the space. Now, by following these steps, hopefully we're going to do it the right way, but I'm hopeful I want to be respectful, and the Dumb Supper by giving thanks and, ensuring that our space and our energy returns to that balanced state, right, after the spiritual gathering. So then it's time to clean up. Breaking down the space and cleaning and clearing the energy all needs to happen. Because November is a new month with new energy, right? The next day, we go to something new. So I do want to add a component on to this episode, and that is it's something to support the potential emotions that come up after working with our ancestors who have passed. Working with spirits that come in for, the Dumb Supper and all of the energy that we potentially have just invoked. Because, the supper is done, just because it's done does not mean that life goes back to normal, right? After hosting a Dumb Supper, reflection, I think, is going to be key to all of us, deepening that spiritual experience and understanding the insights that we have potentially received. And again, they might not come right at that moment. Who knows when our big download is going to happen. So here are some thoughtful journal prompts, maybe, that we can use to process the ritual of a Dumb Supper. First one's going to be, what sensations or emotions did I experience during the Dumb Supper? And how did the presence of the spirits or ancestors feel to me? This is going to be a good one to help us reflect on any physical, emotional, or intuitive reactions we had during the meal. Did you feel the presence of spirits in a specific way? How did it make you feel? Were you comforted? Were you emotional? Maybe you were just peaceful. Second journal prompt afterwards. Were there any signs, messages, or symbols that I noticed during the ritual? What might they mean? This one, I'll tell you guys personally, it takes me a long time to process signs and messages, so it would be hard for me to come up with a true answer right away, but a good journal prompt to work on later would be, to consider any subtle signs such as flickering candles, changes in the atmosphere, or, sudden thoughts and memories. Write about what they might signify and how they connect to your ancestors or just to the spirit's presence. All right, and then the third one would be maybe, how can I honor the guidance or energy that I received during the Dumb Supper in my daily life? Whether you felt guidance, maybe you felt support, or, like a connection to your ancestors, think about how you can integrate these messages or energies into your daily spiritual practice or your personal life moving forward. So those are just some examples. I don't know, but they're prompts.
I've got a question.
Okay, yeah. What?
We're in the process of the Dumb Supper.
Yeah.
We're silent.
We're silent.
We're in the process of the meal itself. Hypothetically, the candles start flickering on the table, or one of them extinguishes.
Yep.
Whatever it might be. I can see my response becoming automatically verbal. And I really shouldn't do that. I should not respond if I feel or sense something. Mm-hmm. Keep it inside.
Just recognize it.
Just recognize that something is happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you. Jennifer, my friend from long ago.
Oh yes.
Yes. Okay. So I told her a couple years ago. I let her know that I was a witch.
Okay.
And I did it at her dining room table. Jennifer, if you're listening, I did it at her dining room table.
Okay.
And we had a candle. She had a candle going on the dining room table.
Okay.
The candle went out and the glass broke.
Oh, whoa.
And I'll tell you, that girl did not freak out.
Really?
She didn't. She was like, she said some words, but she was like, oh shit. Holy fuck.
What's going on? Yeah.
No, she knew what was going on.
Okay.
But she was like, that's never happened. And then I just gave her a grin, and she knew, but she didn't totally freak out. But she was like, okay.
No, I don't think I'm not anticipating being frightened by anything.
She wasn't. No, I'm not saying that, but it doesn't have to be. You can just do like a little grin. I'll look at you.
Oh, you'll
much
know.
Stuff is nonverbal.
It is.
We'll know. I'll be like, here we go.
It begins.
It begins.
Yeah.
So I know it's gonna be really hard, especially for you and me. This is what we do. I know. Yeah. But let's try our hardest.
Yes.
And I think if we get a lot of the stories and a lot of the verbal stuff out of the way,
it's a precursor to everything else. Okay.
All right. So I think, if once you're done with the Dumb Supper, you don't have to go journal about it. But if you're looking to journal, I think those are some good examples of things, some type of prompts that you can maybe start with of processing what just happened. So I really do think this is a great way to wrap up this 3-part series. I do think it ties everything in perfectly. I definitely want to say thank you, Mom. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Like this, I know I'm going to look back on this and just play and listen and just be with you, which is amazing. So thank you.
It's my pleasure entirely. It's been a good, wonderful journey for me as well.
It's going to be fun, and we should report back to everybody so everybody knows.
Absolutely, we should. Yes.
But thank you to the listeners too, right? If you are here and you've been with us, oh my gosh, for all 3 episodes, I really appreciate you, and I hope the information that we have provided here has been helpful. All right, Mom, let's bring it home.
Yes.
Let's put a nice little October orange ribbon on the 3 episodes and link them all together.
I love it.
Tying genealogy work into a Dumb Supper, I think, can make the ritual even more personal and meaningful, allowing us to honor specific ancestors and deepen our connection with our own personal lineage.
Yes.
So I pulled a few ways to kind of incorporate what we talked about on the first 2 episodes into this year's Dumb Supper for everybody.
All right.
If they can. 1, create that family tree altar. Use your genealogy research that you just did to create a family tree or chart or something to display on your altar. You could print out a visual representation of your family lineage, or maybe just simply write down the names of key ancestors that you've discovered on this journey. Decorate the altar with photos, with heirlooms if you have them, or symbolic items connected to these specific ancestors. This can help us focus on those ancestors during the ritual, making the experience even more personalized. I would include ancestral offering stuff. This is, Mom and I are definitely going to be doing this one. So while I mentioned this earlier as part of the Dumb Supper, step-by-step process, as part of your genealogy work, research the favorite books, drinks, or cultural traditions of the ancestors you plan to honor. Incorporate those foods in the Dumb Supper by serving dishes that they would have enjoyed, or foods from their cultural background. You can also include offerings that reflect their professions, right? Their hobbies, their personal symbols, whatever it is. Like maybe your ancestor was a baker, so offering bread could be symbolic, right?
Yes.
This will create that strong ancestral connection during your Dumb Supper meal. Side note, I really do believe that the connection my boys instantly felt when I first offered them mead. Well, I guess I should ask them, maybe on a future episode. I think they felt this, but I saw it. I saw the connection, the DNA coded connection to their ancestors as they were drinking the mead. We saw it. You were there.
I was there. Absolutely.
We witnessed it.
Absolutely.
It was like a little part of their past came alive.
Yes.
Okay, so another thing would be ancestral storytelling before or after the meal. So this is one I do plan on doing with you, Mom.
Good.
Let's talk about our memories. Let's use our genealogy research, your genealogy research.
No, it's yours too.
Yeah, but to tell the stories of our ancestors before the Dumb Supper begins and then after the meal concludes. This is especially meaningful if you are hosting a communal supper, right? Others are going to be sharing in your lineage. So share the stories, the discoveries that you've made through your hard genealogical work. And, storytelling can evoke the presence of those ancestors. I think it does. I think it calls to them. Now, if you're hosting solo, it's okay. Take some time to write down or speak aloud the stories of your ancestors before you begin the silent portion of the ritual. I would also invite ancestors for guidance. This is a fun one. In your genealogical work, if there are any ancestors that you've discovered who are, who have experienced hardship, challenges, moments of strength, you can ask for their guidance during the Dumb Supper. Set a specific intention to honor their journey and seek their wisdom in your own life, especially if there are family patterns or strengths that resonate with your current path. They know. They know how to guide you. They know, hey, girl, don't do this. Girl, do this. They know how to guide you. They've done it. The other one would be to create a genealogy-inspired ritual before the supper. This can be something like, before the supper begins, perform a short meditation or ritual, something that acknowledges your ancestors' journey and your connection to them through time. Light a candle for each generation, maybe, or family line you've discovered. That would be 4 hours
a lot
for
of
us.
candles going. Yeah, we'd have a few going.
But you can do something, or the ones you want to acknowledge maybe that night. But express gratitude for the ways that they've paved the way for you. You can visualize your family lineage as a chain stretching back through the generations, and then affirm your role as a link, the link that you represent in that ancestral chain during the supper.
I like that.
I do too. Another one would be leave a written ancestral offering. So after doing all of this genealogy work, we can leave a written list of ancestors, names, dates, births. You definitely have
I can
this.
do that. I can
got
print
that
out. Can it be generated from the computer?
Sure. It doesn't have to be handwritten. Yeah.
Okay.
Places they've lived, all that stuff. That can be at the Dumb Supper table as part of our offering.
That's a no-brainer.
Mom's got this one.
I've got that one covered.
So this list can serve as a connection to our heritage and can be spiritually charged with our intentions to honor them. After the supper, we can bury it or burn it, which I think would be amazing.
I think we'll be doing that.
I can bring my little cauldron over, so it's a safe way to burn it.
Okay.
To bury or burn it, to burn the list as a way of symbolically giving it back to the earth or to the spirits.
Oh, I really like that.
Do you?
I do
You're
like
called to
that.
that one?
Very much.
So your sign, you are a Taurus.
Yes.
You're an Earth sign.
Yes.
I don't know that we have researched what your moon or your rising is. I
You
would like
did.
to. Oh, did I look at it?
I think you
Oh, you
gave
were
me
Gemini.
a whole.
You and I
Yeah.
were both Gemini moons, I think.
I think so. You gave me a whole printout.
A whole
on that.
okay. So Earth, working in the Earth is probably going to call to you very heavily. So
Okay.
if burying something is more symbolic to you,
Oh,
that would dissolve
than
with watering
burning.
and all that stuff. We can. That's very Earth element-ish.
Okay.
Working with the fire element and burning stuff, that is my rising. That very much calls to me. But
Okay.
let's find our happy place. Let's do it. Yeah.
Well, something that'll for both of us.
For both of us. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have every element except for Earth.
Really?
I have air, water, and fire. I don't have Earth. As far as my top
How interesting is that?
three. But I feel like Earth is so symbolically
it's around.
Anyways.
And I would have said just the opposite about you.
That I would have Earth.
Oh God, yes. I
Yeah.
would have said for sure it would have been very strong.
My sun sign water, my moon sign is air, and my rising sign is fire.
Wow.
I know. You never know.
Well,
Okay.
No, you don't.
Okay, and then lastly, I think we can use our family research tools for some type of deeper connection. So if you've discovered any specific traditions, maybe languages, in spiritual practices from your ancestral lineage, incorporate those into the supper, right? For example, if you've learned about a particular prayer or saying that's been passed down in your family, you could recite it silently. Silently recite it as part of the Dumb Supper.
Something up.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alternatively, if you found that your ancestors had specific superstitions or spiritual beliefs, you could integrate those elements in the ritual too. All right, so either way, we want to weave all of this genealogy that we've been talking about on the past 2 episodes, all of this hard work that we've been putting into documenting our own personal heritage. We want to weave as much of this into the Dumb Supper as we can to help it take on a different twist. We are strengthening the ancestral bond. We are honoring the legacy of those who came before us. This creates a rich personal experience that ties our practice into our own unique family history. Dumb Supper! Okay, Mom.
I love it. Yes.
Any last words? We are wrapping up this 3-part series. Do you have any last words you want to share? Words of wisdom? Gosh.
Oh, I wish I had some pearls of
Something.
wisdom to hand down. I want to thank you for letting me be a part of this. Hey, we're never too old to learn new things, and I have. It's been wonderful. And plus, I get to spend more time with you, which makes it even better.
We love that. We like it.
It's always good.
We're never short of conversation when these two get together. But
no, we aren't.
I think you are very much like me, where a lot of the stuff that I've done throughout my whole life is because you've done it. So things have been handed down. Again, it didn't have the name of witchcraft being handed down, but when you look it up, you're like, well, shit.
Well, what else would you call it?
I looked at it, I was like, Mom's been doing this one for freaking 70 years.
Yeah.
As far as I know, when you were little, this is just what you did. Things got handed down for you. And
yeah, and they were. And I know specifically from a family history standpoint, I saw my maternal side of the family more than my paternal side of the family.
Yeah.
So I felt closer in some respects.
Sure.
To my mother's mother and her family, and so things that were just second nature to them became second nature for me.
Right.
And rightly so, it would be for you as well.
It's just, these are the things
It's
that
just the way it
get
works.
handed down. This is just what you do.
Yeah.
You've been lighting candles for your ancestors for a long time.
For a long time. Yeah.
So you might not have called it witchcraft, but you've been pulling and working with this energy for a long. So it's sometimes things have a different name. We might have called it something different.
Exactly. But the basic or the core of it hasn't changed.
It just hasn't.
No.
All right.
No.
Well,
all good.
Regardless of its form, what elements you do or you do not bring to the Dumb Supper, whatever everybody's doing this October, this ritual, I think, continues to be a profound and transformative ritual, especially in October, as we prepare for the long winter that's coming up, right?
Yes.
And embrace the wisdom and energy of those who have come before. And you know what? This is more than just a meal. It's a sacred practice that invites communication with the dead. It invites reflection of the cycles of life. And it can provide spiritual insight. In October, when the veil is thin, it really does serve as a powerful bridge between the worlds, allowing us to honor our ancestors and seek their guidance. So as a solemn and silent tradition, it fosters, our Dumb Supper fosters both introspection and connection, offering whoever is doing it, whoever the participants are, a moment of stillness and spiritual clarity amidst the turning of the seasons. We did it! Yay! Okay, so thank you, Mom. Thank you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Amazing. All right, guys. If you do want to stay on, I have a poem for today's episode. And of course, I have the moon update. And she is gearing up for one hell of a show at the end of October. A lot is happening. So I will be right back with both the poem and the moon update. Oh my goodness, you guys, this recording is 2 hours. All right, but what a wonderful way to wrap up this 3-part series. Thank you again to my mom. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you again to you. Oh my goodness, if you're still here this long into a very extended episode. But thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you being on this journey with us. All right, so I do have the poem that I wrote for today's episode, specifically talking about our dumb supper. And it goes. At the table, silent and still, the room is quiet, but my heart is filled. A single candle, soft, warm glow, invites the spirits of those I know. I place your picture by my side. With love and longing, tears I hide. The veil is thin, and the air is deep. I call you now from endless sleep. The meal is served, and I sit and wait for you to come through time and fate. A gentle breeze, a whisper stirred. I feel your presence and voices heard. No words are spoken, but I hear the echoes of a voice so dear. In silence we connect once more, like waves that touch a distant shore. I ask for guidance, your wisdom's grace, and I feel the warmth of your embrace. Though years and lifetimes may divide, you're ever here, still by my side. As I rise, so does the smoke from the spirits that I've invoked. I say goodbye, but not for long, for now I know I sing their song. Through the silence love endured, our bond remains forever secured. And at this table, silent and still, the room may be quiet, but my heart is filled. Okay, you guys ready for this one? Our moon, our magical, beautiful October moon. Well, we had the full moon last week. We actually recorded this right after its beautiful full moon status on Thursday. Now she's waning, right? She's waning right now as this airs. So guess what that means? Our dark moon, the amazing work we can do during a dark moon, well, it happens next week. And not just any day next week. No, our dark moon this October 2024 will be on Samhain, on October 31st. Now, I'm going to dive into this specific event on next week's episode that is dedicated all to the Samhain celebration, but I wanted to give you a good lead on the upcoming energy, as if there was not enough already to do next week. Just, fair warning, our beautiful dark moon is happening on Thursday, October 31st. So if you work with any of the dark gods and goddesses, they more than likely have a theme about working with transition, with the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. And, well, the Dumb Supper in Samhain also works with this energy. Our options, you guys, wishes, they are endless here. So I want to give you lots and lots of warning so you can prepare something magical that night. And please don't be too overwhelmed, right? We can always do as little or as much as we want. Things don't have to be or need to be as elaborate as I listed out with today's dumb supper. I just think for my first one out of the gate, going step by step, very traditional is how I want to do it. I just want to give you as many options as possible. So look ahead to our calendar. We have a bunch of energy swirling around right now. See what you want to work with, if you even do want to work with any of it. And be ready. Next week has a lot going on, but we've got this. All right, I am so happy to be on this journey with you. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Witchy Work Wishes. And again, if you enjoyed the show and found value in it, please take a moment to share it with your friends. Your support really does help the podcast grow. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more episodes, and if you would like to support me even further, please check out my Patreon for exclusive content, oracle readings, worksheets, and all that good stuff. Your love and support really does make all the difference. I am so completely happy to be here with you right now. Be sure to check back for next week's episode all about Samhain. And, for now, I hope the rest of this week is amazing for you and you have a wonderful weekend. I will talk with you next week. Thank you for joining me today at Witchy Work Wishes, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. For more information and additional content, please visit me online at witchyworkwishes.com. If you want to send me a personal note, please email me at info@witchyworkwishes.com. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Witchy Work Wishes.